Hi, welcome to Inge's Knitting Lab and this knitting tutorial series on how to do the tree trunk cardigan, the one with the form and fit European shoulder design. Today we will talk about steeking step by step, and this is part 2 in the tutorials on how to make the steek for the cardigan here, and we have reached the step where we do the crocheting. So I have again prepared the samples here for illustrating what to do and what not to do. So let's just get started. If you haven't tried steeking before, as I said in the previous video, I would highly recommend you to make a small sample here. You only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tree trunk stripes, a short number of rows here, and go along with me doing this step by step until you feel confident to go on to your final project here with your cardigan. Let's start finding the materials we need. I use a crochet hook size 3.5 millimeter. It's a US E4, and as you see, this is 1 whole millimeter smaller than the size of the knitting needles when doing this body part. And again, this is to avoid too much bulk here and waviness when we sew on the steek when we have cut it open. So a crochet hook, and I have a darning needle and some waste yarn in order for me to locate the center stitch here on which we will do the crocheting. So let's start finding the center stitch here of the steek. So you have the 3 cast on stitches here looking in the knitting direction, and you will just add your helping strand here. We will remove it afterwards, but it's again just to locate where to do the crocheting. So I just do like this in big strides to help me see the stitch. So just like this all the way down. Done. So now I can see where we have the center stitch. So the next step is to secure these stitches so that when we cut it open, we will prevent the stitches from unraveling. So when we have done the steeking, it will look like this. I will also use a contrasting color, so the steek will be this copper color. And now we will get this situation where we can just cut here in the center stitch, and we will cut exactly here. So what we need now is to grab one leg from one chain of knit stitches with another leg of the center chain stitch. So when we look here on the right hand side, we take the second leg and the first leg of the center stitch. This will be 1 crochet row over here, and on the other side we take the second leg of the center stitch and this leg, so we will get a crochet chain over here. And in this way we have caught this center stitch in both, connecting with 2 different stitches, and this is why we can cut open here without the stitch unraveling. The next thing to bear in mind is that we knit in 2 directions. These are 2 separate chains. So first we go, we place the cardigan like this, and we go from the bottom hem to the v-neck going in this direction, so in the opposite way as the knitting direction. But when we go from the V towards the hem, we go in the knitting direction like this. So for those of you who like illustrations, I've tried to show it in another way. So here you see the red V's. These are the 3 center stitches here. So what we are trying to do is to catch the leg of this center stitch while crocheting from the hem to the v-neck like this in the opposite way of the knitting direction, so that we catch this leg with this leg, and when we go from the v-neck towards the hem, we catch this leg and this leg while doing the crochet loops like this. I hope it helps. I like it to be visual. That's how I learn. This is the way we do it. And if you work in the opposite direction that I'm instructing, then it will look like this. So it's a big difference. And it's not just a matter of the looks, it's also functionality when we are about to bend it over and sew it on the back side. I will get back to it later and show you. I will start here from the hem towards the v-neck, and I will grab my contrasting yarn because this is what I'm using in this one. You can also play with this steeking to give you some effect on the back side. So this will be exactly like the one I'm doing here, where I do the crocheting in the contrasting color, and then the steek and the folding of before the button band will look like this. If I chose not to use a contrasting color, then it would look like this. You can see the crochet chain is here, and it just blends in with the base color of the cardigan. So it's depending on your liking. All right, so let's start. Now, every detail is important, so I start crocheting 2 chains. So this is just the knot, 1, 2. And you don't need much of a tail here. You will use these 2 chains here when you sew on this one, because it will just continue down here to look just like here where you pick up the stitches. It also looks like a chain, right? So it's in order for this to blend in and you won't see where you start and end this crochet. So I will fasten the chain here in the bottom edge. So when looking in the knitting direction, I catch the center of the first center stitch here, the first of the 3 stitches. So I push the crochet hook from behind, do a yarn over, pull through and pull through. So this will be a crochet slip stitch. Again, I don't use a single crochet because I want to minimize the bulk as best as I can. And I do this with slip stitches. So now we do the first connection of the second leg of the first stitch and the first leg of the center stitch. And I make sure to take the very first one so that I'm fully down at the bottom. And then again I yarn over, pull through to make a slip stitch, a crochet slip stitch. And now it gets easier from here because I have the center strand here in the center stitch, and these 2 legs now look like a chain going towards the v-neck. So if I make sure to grab these 2 legs in the chain going in this direction, I will do it in the right way. So I just keep on going under here, pulling and making slip stitches. So I do a couple of more, and then I will show you what may happen if you don't do it in the right way. And of course how it should look like doing it in the right way. If you by a mistake take these 2 legs of the first stitch, then your sample will look like this. You will only see this purl ridge, and then you will have the crochet chain. So you will not grab the center stitch and hence not secure the stitches. So that's one error. The other error could be that you pass this first stitch and grab the two legs of the center stitch like this beside the helping strand here. And if you do this, it'll look like this. Then you get the first stitch looking like this, and you have the strand going like this. So that's not how to do it. We will have it look like this, where you see just one leg here and then the chain. So let me just continue towards the V-neck, and let's meet up here to see how we close off with this crochet chain. I miss only 2 stitches now, slip stitches now. I'm here at the border, so you can clearly see this second last V. So let me grab that one. And it is important that I get all of these stitches. So if you kind of move it a bit apart here, where you cast on the stitches, so the base of the cast ons, then you can see there is actually one more. So I will get that one. It can be a bit tricky, but yeah, doable, of course. So that was the last one. And now I will do just like I did in the other end. I will find the center of the first stitch here, and I will go down here in the cast on base and just make the last slip stitch and then 2 chain stitches. And now I can cut off here just with a small chain. Don't make it too long, it's just a waste of yarn. And before starting going in the other direction, I always look, I actually do it before I cut the yarn, but anyway, I always look if I somehow missed one, not doing it in the correct way, because this may easily happen. So I just check the purl line and one leg here before the chain, and if this is the case all the way through, and it is, check. So I now turn my work and I do the same thing in the other direction. Let's see how it looks here when I have turned my work. So here I have the center strand, and you will see now this chain going from the hem where we started towards the V-neck. Then now I have to catch this leg here on the other side of the helping strand with the second leg from this border stitch, so to speak, the third one. So I do the same thing. I make a, is it called slip knot, like this, and 2 slip stitches, and I go and find the cast on edge here, the very first one with this stitch. So, and looking in the opposite direction as the knitting direction, it looks like an A. So I push the crochet hook from underneath, make a yarn over, pull through, and pull through here, making a slip stitch like this. So now I have fastened the chain, and I will find the very first one again. So again, of course, it is very important to catch every one, and we see that this is the first one. So now I grab here. Yeah, whoa, this is actually only catching the third stitch here of the center, so that won't be correct. So I have to look here. I see this helping strand, and I have to go past the first leg and grab these 2 legs. So I can tell you I've made so many of these, and even so sometimes I grab the wrong leg accidentally. So It happens, but you just check your work before you cut, of course. So I just continue and let's meet at the bottom. I missed the 2 last slip stitches here, so the second last and the last one. I check once again to see that it is actually the very last one, so that we don't have any unraveling. This one, and then just as I did in the other side, I will pick in between the legs of the last stitch here to fasten it at the bottom rim of the cardigan, and I make 2 chains and cut. And again, make it as short as possible. It's not just a waste of yarn, but it also will create bulk, so in the way we sew this on later. So yeah, let's have a look at our end product here and compare with the sample. So now we see this very characteristic elevation of these crochet chains here, and we see that we have the helping strand exactly between the 2 chains here. So again, before you start cutting, always check that you did it right so that it will not unravel for you. So now we can go 2 ways. I will also sew this chain, so in a second you will see me with my sewing machine, and I will try, and I will sew exactly in the center of this chain and in the center of this chain. So how come I do both the crocheting and the sewing? Yeah, well, it's because I do this button band before I do my blocking. So when doing this, this may become, when you cut it here and you bend it over, picking up the stitches, it's not that it unravels, but you may see some small gaps, and I just want to keep it all in place. And actually it also, it's not just the stitch functionality, but also the looks. When you have cut here and you want to sew on here on the back side, it helps you have it look better and easier when you sew on, and you will not at all see the sewing here. So I will try to find a color that matches somehow, but actually it doesn't matter. You won't see it when you have cut it open and sew it on. So let me find my sewing machine and do this. And while doing this, we can talk about what to do if you don't have a sewing machine. For sewing, I will remove this helping strand here so that I don't sew it onto the work. It's not that it's a real problem, it just takes a bit of time to remove it. So that's what I will do. And I have placed a thread on the machine. It's a beige, I don't have an orange. As I said, it doesn't matter, it won't show. And I have placed the machine at 2.5 here in a straight sewing line, no zigzag. So I just grab the bottom hem here and start in this line here. So I just sew exactly down in the middle, and of course make sure not to sew the under layer. So I place it under the, I don't know what you call it, sewing arm here. Now I just turn around and go in the other direction. I continue, and again I sew exactly down the center of what looks like a V to me from my view here. And just as I think I'm done, look here, it doesn't look the same. I'm close to the pearl here, so I actually crocheted in the wrong way. But it's not too late. I will just unravel this one and crochet it in the right way, and then I will get back. I have unraveled, and now I do it without releasing the sewing machine. It's usually I see my mistakes before, but you know, it's a bit different when you make videos, but it's not unmendable, I mean, so we just do it like this. Like this. Okay. Looking better now. So done. Let's have a look at the results. I use this base strand here, and perhaps you can see that my sewing is just in the center of these two crochet chains, just as intended. And now this steek lies more flat than compared to before the sewing here. So that's nice. And later on we will talk about the benefits when picking up stitches, and later on when we sew the cut up steek to the other side. So I'm ready for the cutting now, and I just grab my scissors and I tear this a bit apart so I can see these tweener strands between the two crochet chains. And if you want to be even more secure, you can apply a cutting board, and place it in between here so that you make sure not to cut the other side here. It would be a disaster, right? But I have my own method here, so I will just turn my work and pick up the cardigan and hold the fabric like this, so I see the center here, and I just grab the scissors and cut it open. So you have the two separate crochet strands here, so you can cut in the middle. Like this. And let me cut it open all the way through. Let's have a look at the result now that the cardigan has been cut open. You see here a very flat open steek and a very non-wavy open steek. And when we look at the edge here, it is very crisp and what do you call it? Non-fuzzy. It's very sharp. Sharp, I would call this edge. And look here in both sides. And we looked at the sewing, so I will just show you here where I had one incident of me not reaching the center of the stitch. Then we get this, what I call these fluffy ends that we have to cut and trim. And I will talk about the very final step of the steeking process when I do the button band, because I do the cutting and trimming once I have picked up the stitches and made the button band. I promised you that we would have a talk about what to do if you don't have a sewing machine. So let's do a small experiment. I have prepared some samples. Let me get them and we will have a look. I have two samples here. This one has just been knitted up and I made the steek, and this one has been washed and blocked. You clearly see that it has widened up. If you don't have a sewing machine, I recommend you to wash and block your sweater once you've made the steek, and then do the cutting. So in order to show you the differences, then I will show you how it looks like when you do the steek, no sewing, just cutting. When you have washed and blocked, do the cutting. So let's cut it. Let's make a comparison. You see here, it looks like the one I made on the cardigan, even though I haven't sewn it because we haven't touched it yet. We see here the blocked one where it tends to fold up a bit here, and when we look at the back sides, yeah, of course we see that it has widened up. So now for the difference. You will feel the difference when you start picking up stitches to do the button bands. So let's try to do that and see what happens with each of the samples. I will now use this contrasting color to pick up the stitches, then it's easier for you to see. And I grab my needle, it's a 4mm needle, a US 6. And I pick up the stitch just in the center of the pearl stitch. So later on I will show you if you pick up stitches not in the center, this makes it a finishing different detail on your cardigan. So pick up the stitch in the center. So now you see that the knitwear automatically bends like this, and you get this nice fold here on the back side of your cardigan. But look what starts happening now. You get these small strands here in the sample that we didn't sew and we didn't block it. And these are the small strands here, ends poking out, that we will trim before we sew on this piece. Now let's pick up stitches in the sample here that has been blocked. And again, I just pick up the stitch in the center of the pearl stitches. Yeah, without doubt, we want to ensure that it doesn't get too fluffy when starting to work the piece again, when picking up stitches and working the button band. So what you see here now is that unlike the one that hasn't been blocked, we prevent these strands from poking out just like we did when sewing. Let's compare the two samples, the unblocked and the blocked one, to see the difference after being handled and picking up stitches, even though I took out the yarn again. So here you see on the unblocked that you get these strands here when starting to handle the fabric, and in the blocked one it looks just as the sewn one, even though I picked up stitches. So it certainly makes a difference, and the difference is that the scales on the yarn, they interact and entangle. It's not that it's felting, it's just how it works when it is washed and blocked. So to sum up the result, either you do the crocheting and the sewing before you wash and block your sweater, or if you don't have a sewing machine or doesn't like the principle, you do the crocheting and then wash and block your sweater, and then you can pick up stitches for the button band. So, quod est demonstrandum. Let me sum up my results of the steeking process here to show you the effect of the different methods. So all of them, after cutting it open, I have handled the fabric by picking up stitches and starting the first row. I have unraveled again so that you can better see the difference here. But it has been handled. So let us take them one by one. Here is the crochet steek. It is unblocked. I cut it open and handled the fabric. This one is steek by crochet method and sewn by machine. Still not blocked, but cut open and fabric is handled. This one here has a steek crochet steek. Now it is blocked before cut open and handling the fabric. So let's look at some of the differences here and small errors that might occur. So in this one you see that these small strands, tweener strands where you cut the steek, will start poking out, and it's not like it is unraveling, not at all, but what may happen, you see here, is that it can slide apart and give you a gap here, which will be seen like when you bend over here and make the fold. So I would say this is not preferable. And yeah, the more you handle it at the end of the button band, it looks worse. And one error here that may occur is that if you at the cast on edge do not catch the very first stitch here and fasten the steek, then this may happen. Then when you cut it open, you get this error. So I would not recommend this method. The next one here is still not blocked. However, we added this sewing process here. So let's look at the result. So here you see no tweener strands poking out yet, even though I have handled the fabric. And if we look here, we cannot tear it apart because it has been sewn. However, one error that may occur here, if you don't sew twice or you miss the center of the stitch, these will still start poking out here when you handle the fabric. However, it will not slide apart because again you have sewn it here. So no sliding apart. The last one here, where we have blocked the cardigan or the small sample and then cut open and handled the fabric, we see no tweener strand poking out here, even though it has been handled. I guess it may happen once you go along with the fabric a bit, but if we try to tear it apart here, this won't happen. And this is due to the lovely effect of the woolen fiber, which have scales, and the scales will interact when you wash and block and secure this from sliding apart. I must add that none of these will be unraveling unless you make this mistake, but these ones are kind of, would you say, foolproof, because you add an extra layer of security either by sewing or by blocking, so that smaller mistakes will not become fatal like this one. Also here, when you have blocked it, this will not be fatal like this. I hope by this small demonstration you got an idea of your preferable method when steeking for this cardigan, or maybe you have a fourth or a fifth different method to apply, then please do share. It's just in this cardigan we use this steeking here, not just for functional purposes, but also visual purposes later on. Yeah, this was all for now in this tutorial episode. So I hope you enjoyed it and it makes sense for you, all of the steeking talk. So if you have any questions for me or troubles, or this is teasing you, please don't hesitate to contact me either by commenting below, or you can send me an email or contact me on Instagram and we will have a chat about it. So until the next episode where we do the button band, bye bye for now. Bye bye.